Welcome back to another video, and today we're going to talk about the Taipan Light. I'm going to mix things up a little bit. I'm not really going to do the things I like and the things I don't like. I'm just going to talk about the rifle. I've got a list of things to talk about, and we're just going to throw in good and bad, all mixed together, and then we'll conclude at the end. So, let's talk about from the front to the back of the rifle. We have a threaded muzzle. It is threaded M12 by 1mm. Just in case you want to buy a brake or a flash device for it. That's the thread pitch because it doesn't actually list that in the manual. So the barrel on this particular one is stainless steel. If you read the manual though, it says that some will come with stainless steel and some will come with chromoly barrels. It doesn't say there's any difference between the two in model or anything, so maybe when you order, you don't know what you're getting. I'm not too sure, quite confusing because they're two completely different things. Stainless steel and chromoly, two completely different ends of the spectrum of barrels. So I do believe the trial versions, the prototypes, I do believe they had chromoly barrels. The one that we used for this review had a stainless steel. I'm not too sure. If it's not shiny and in the white, it's not stainless steel. The barrel though is made by a German manufacturer. I couldn't find the actual name of the German manufacturer, but I have a feeling it may be Lothar Walther. Maybe, but it is made in Germany and they're imported over here to put in these rifles. The chamber in it is 223 Wild. Now all that is it means it can fire 223 Remington and 5.56 NATO in the same chamber. Because generally if you don't have your chamber stamped with both of those, 223 Rem and 5.56 NATO, you can't fire them interchangeably. You can only fire 223 into 223 chambered barrel. But if it's 5.56, you can fire both. 223 Wild means you can fire both. It's almost the same thing. Go and do some Googling if you really want to find out a little bit more information on 223 Wild. The barrel itself is super accurate. Now, in the manual, they're going to tell you to go through this bloody shoot it in fucking thing where you fire a round and clean the barrel and fire another round and clean the barrel. It's just kind of hard to do because you can't pull it apart because they don't tell you in the manual how to pull it apart. We'll come back to that in a minute. So you'd be using a bore snake, which is not the best for that anyway. And you do this 40 or 50 round shoot in fucking process. We didn't do that because you know, you don't really gain much out of doing that. I've done videos on that in the past. So what Jeff did is he fired 3 rounds. He then made an adjustment on his sight. He fired another 3 rounds, and this was the group that he got. Now this is at 50 meters. Every other subsequent group he fired at 100 meters when he confirmed his zero at 100 was at or under half an MOA. Did he shoot the barrel in? Probably not. If you're getting half an MOA out of a pump action, that's pretty bloody good. So take from that what you will, shoot it in as per the manual if you really want, or don't, choose your own adventure. The whole thing is just one big bloody aluminium chassis. Now at the front it has M-lock on the sides, but then it has this weird teardrop shaped cutting on the angled parts, top and bottom, which you can't do anything with. It's not key mod, so you can't add key mod stuff to it, and it's not M-lock, so you can't add M-lock stuff to it. Why they didn't just put M-lock holes there is beyond me. It's a bit of a weird thing. They've clearly done it to save some weight and put cuttings there, but then you can't attach anything to it, so it kind of defeats the purpose, really. So they probably couldn't do M-lock and key mod at the same time, because maybe that's a licensing thing, but just put M-lock holes everywhere. You would have saved the same amount of weight. To me, it's just a little weird, but it is what it is. The rifle can take PMags, so normal AR style PMags, which is pretty cool. It comes with 2 MDT 10 round PMags, which is quite cool. The other thing this rifle comes with, so I don't forget to say it later, when you buy it, OSA has bundled it up with a Crimson Trace red dot, because the rifle itself doesn't have any iron sights. So if you bought the rifle without anything, you would have to go and buy an optic, otherwise you can't fire the rifle accurately because it doesn't have sights, right? So OSA has thrown in this Crimson Trace red dot. I don't know how good it is. The one that Jeff got, they had run out of Crimson Trace red dot, so they threw in a Nico Sterling red dot, and that thing is dog shit. They retail for about $100. Yeah, it's not a great red dot at all. Very dull, very weird. It's just not nice, all right? So, but they do throw you in a sight, so you've got something. You can actually go and shoot. It has a AR A2 style pistol grip. So it's like an M16 A2 style pistol grip. You can change those. However, be aware that when you pull that apart, there is a spring housed within the plastic itself on the handle. So when you pull that apart, do not lose that spring. That's the spring that is for your safety catch detent, which holds your safety catch in position. So yeah, be careful when you pull that apart. You may lose that spring, and if you lose it, good luck trying to find another one. It has a full-length pick rail from the back of the receiver all the way down to the end of the fore end, and that's all, you know, it's good. You can mount a lot of crap to the top of your gun if you really want to get into the technical stuff. It has a fixed stock, and that is to fall in line with the New South Wales regulations because this gun is made in New South Wales. There is an adapter so you can do a folding stock in other states. One thing with this fixed stock is that it's not machined very precise, so where these two parts, it'd be like that way, butt up together, there is actually a gap there. And what will happen is if this is the receiver and this is the buttstock, it's going to deflect that way while you're using it, which isn't the greatest if you're trying to be accurate. No one really wants their buttstock flopping around on them. Now, you can kind of get away with this by torquing down on that machine screw. However, you're putting undue stress and more tension and torque onto a screw that's probably not designed to take that much torque. So a better option would probably be to shim that gap. So if you really want to shim something really well, go and buy a can of VB, drink the can of VB, cut the can up and use the aluminium as shims. Aluminium can is very, very consistent in its width, and it's what a lot of machinists use for makeshift shimming because it is fairly accurate. It's just good stuff to use as shims. So get yourself a can of VB, drink it, use that, shim your stock, then your stock won't wobble around and you won't put undue stress on the machine screw. Now, when we talk about machine screws, all of them within the rifle seem to be fairly standard machine screws. I didn't measure them because I didn't have my thread pitch gauges on me when I was playing with the rifle, but I believe they are just normal standard M5, M6 cap head screws, which you can buy from Bunnings or any other hardware store. So if you lose a screw, I dare say you'll be able to replace it with something you can get from a hardware store, which is a pretty cool feature, but also very Australian of like, well, we're building a rifle, just fucking go down to Bunnings and get a snag and pick some screws up and then we'll put this thing together, right? So kind of weird because normally firearm screws are usually imperial and usually weird, whacked out things. I do like the fact that they are hex head, cap head screws, and the fact that they're metric and normal is also an added bonus. Now, the Cerakote. It is Cerakote. It is a really ugly, I don't particularly like it, turquoisey, greeny, vomity poo colour. Personally, not a fan of how that looks. I would prefer it to be in just plain black or FDE, because FDE is the best colour for firearms ever invented. I love FDE. Or even OD green, something that's not shit, vomit, poo, turquoise, whatever this bloody thing is. Now, colours aside, the Cerakoting quality is actually really, really bad. Like, abnormally bad for a firearm to have Cerakote this bad. Now, they do say it is real Cerakote, so I'm not sure if it is. It may be a knockoff, or it's just put on badly, or because it's on aluminium. Cerakote aluminium sometimes don't mix very well. I'm not too sure, but it's crap. Look at the fucking Cerakote coming off already.
But still
pretty shit though. Like you put one pick rail attachment on and then.
Yeah, it's not very thick. Not a very thick Cerakote. Just from sliding down that one.
Even there.
Yeah.
Pretty rounds ejecting.
Oh yeah.
That's pretty annoying for how much that costs.
Yeah.
On the bolt latch, you can see as we've folded the bolt latch down, and this is not that many times, it has worn the Cerakote away from there. And just before filming this video, I asked Jeff just to measure the fore end, just as a point of reference. I just wanted to know how wide it is. It's 40 mil, by the way. He measured it with a pair of calipers, and even just putting caliper faces, which don't normally scratch things, lightly onto the side, he actually put two big lines straight down the Cerakoting. That's not good. Let's say you bought a rifle, right, that wasn't Cerakoted, and you took it to a gunsmith to get Cerakoted. It would cost you anywhere between like $400 and $600, depending on where you go. If it came back, after paying that much money, if it came back that quality, you would be pissed. You would be absolutely fucking livid. The fact that from the factory the Cerakote is that bad is, in my opinion, not really good enough. So maybe they need to revise how it's put on. That's probably my biggest gripe with this gun, is the Cerakoting on it. It's terrible. So sorry guys. Yeah, your Cerakote's crap. Actually using the rifle when you're cocking it, I found slicker than a 76-15, which I've got a fair bit of experience with. I did find though sometimes the first part of unlocking, so that first part you pull, the first maybe centimetre to an inch of movement at the front of the thing, what that's actually doing is rotating the cam within the cam slot, which is going to rotate your bolt and take it out of battery, right? The cam is steel and the slot is aluminium, and I feel like that's galling a little bit because usually steel and aluminium moving parts, it's not a good mix generally. So I think that's the problem. Yeah, I'm not too 100% sure. I would have to pull the rifle back apart and check that cam groove to see if that is the issue. I'm going to keep a close eye on that, and maybe I'll do an update video later. But as a whole, it is a hell of a lot slicker than a 76-15, 7600, that type of rifle. Pretty bloody good on that. It has a bolt hold open, so on an empty magazine, the magazine follower is going to hit the bolt hold open, which will pop up, hold the bolt rearward so you can't put the action bar forwards again, can't put the bolt forwards, and then you would change mags, and then you can slide the bolt forwards. I have already heard of one bolt hold open latch snapping. It is kind of thin metal on the inside, so don't over flex it upwards. Why we'd be pushing up is beyond me, but don't over flex it because you will snap that. It does seem to be quite flimsy. It has a bolt lock, so on the back top of the receiver has this silver cross bolt lock, and that will lock your bolt rearwards. It's an added safety, they say, so you can have your magazine loaded with rounds in the rifle, the bolt rearwards, and that lock so you can't physically put the bolt forwards. Yeah, okay, cool. I don't know of any other pump actions that have that. I personally wouldn't use that. If you really want to have that, then you can. They're saying that it's there for when farmers have it in the car, it's safer. But if you're that worried about it, then don't have your rifle loaded in the car. I don't know. To me, it would be safer to have the bolt forward, no round in the chamber, and rounds in the magazine, so that when you do want to use it, you stick it out the window and you bang, as opposed to stick it out the window, grab the fore end, come all the way back to this weird thing, pop, and then slide it forwards. It just seems a bit clunky. It seems, I don't know. But if you really want to use that, you go ahead and you use that. My personal preference would be just carry it with a loaded magazine, no round in the chamber, completely safe, nothing can go wrong. You can't accidentally cock it. And then if you want to fire, you just rack and fire. Now, speaking of working the action, we did have a couple of stoppages with this rifle, and that was mainly due to the rounds not chambering correctly. So we found that if you sort of limp wrist it, putting that slide forwards, then the rounds won't chamber. You'll be able to notice this on the right hand side. You'll see the bolt carrier, and forward of the bolt carrier you'll see a gap. If you see a gap there, it means your bolt is not fully forward, the rifle is not in battery, which means that when you fire, or when you pull the trigger, it's not going to fire. Right, so that may be a check you need to add into your weapons handling. Bolt forward, check the bolts forward. So I'll just play a couple of clips of these stoppages, and you can see for yourself.
Cool. Chamber. I don't think it's going fully forward, eh? It's a tiny gap just there. I think.
Yeah, it looks like it. You done the mag?
Hey?
You done the mag? It's definitely not locked correctly.
Whoop.
Oop, done it
Oh
again.
no, that's alright. Oh no,
Yeah,
I don't reckon.
no, it's... So as you can see there, it happened a few times. Sometimes it wasn't even just limping it just wouldn't chamber, and I believe that was because the ammunition we were using was quite crap. It was very cheap, Hornety stuff, and we compared those cart cases to the cart cases of other ammunition. It seemed like the shoulders were a little bit far forward, so maybe that was the issue. But who knows, we didn't have enough ammunition of different brands and different types to test to see whether it was an ammunition issue or a rifle issue, so just bear that in mind. It's a shit of a stoppage. The fact that that was happening was quite concerning, although the fix is quite easy if you know what you're doing. So, in the manual, they tell you to pull the rifle apart and clean it before you fire it for the first time to get all the packing oil and grease and whatever off it. But then they also say in the manual, do not strip the rifle, and they don't give you instructions on how to because they don't want you pulling it apart. Counterintuitive, right? I think so. Obviously, I pulled it apart. It's actually not that hard at all. And because this is a service-heavy type of rifle, ergo, a pump action needs more servicing than a bolt action, particularly in terms of lubrication, particularly for the cam. As I said, the cam is steel and the recess is aluminium. That riding together can gall. My personal preference for that would be to use a type of gun grease. But to put that in there, you need to pull the bolt out, all right? And to pull the bolt out, you need to pull the rifle apart. If you want, leave a comment and I will do a video on how to pull the Taipan apart in order to service it. I won't go fully into punching pins out and doing all that whack gunsmith stuff, but I'll just show you how to pull it apart enough so that you can service the rifle, clean the rifle, lubricate it correctly, and all that good stuff, because I feel that that's an operator job, not really a gunsmith job, and the way that they've written in their manual is like take it to a gunsmith every single time you want it cleaned, and that's kind of a bit ridiculous. It's your responsibility as a responsible firearms owner to know how to operate your firearm, pull it apart, and service your firearm. It's like having a four-wheel drive, right? You wouldn't take it to a mechanic every single time you wanted it cleaned and you need to take off your diff bash plate, right? You would just take your diff bash plate off and clean it. It's kind of the parallel I'm trying to go with that. As I said, if I get enough comments asking for it down below, I will do that video for you. If I do not, then I just won't, and I'll just take it you guys want to take your rifle to a gunsmith every time you want to clean it. So to wrap this up in a neat little bundle, what do I think about the Taipan Light? Look, I think it is a great rifle if you're, let's say, a pig hunter and you want to have a rifle that fires kind of quick. I know a lot of IPSC shooters are moving into getting this rifle now that it's out because it's better than a 7615, but it's cheaper than a Warwick. So it's hitting that sweet spot in the middle. Are there a few things wrong with it? Yes, namely the Cerakoting, and I'm not too sure about this stoppage thing. I'm going to have to keep an eye on that because it may become a future problem. But mainly that Cerakoting is poo-poo and probably needs to get revised. So guys, if you're watching this video, I like your rifle, fix your Cerakoting, and I think you'll have a much better product for the general public to consume. I hope you got something out of that video. I hope that steers you in the right direction for the decision you're going to make on whether you buy this or not. As always, supporting the channel, Patreon, link in description. To all the Patreons, thank you very much. You're how I continue to be able to make these videos with your contributions. And you can contribute for as little as $3, because I don't make a distinction on my Patreon whether you pay $3 or $15. You get the same content all around. It's up to you how much you want to give. $3 is fine. You're practically buying me half a beer every month. So thanks. Well, as always, I'll see you next video, and hooroo.